All right, hey everyone, welcome to Void. We have a very special guest today, someone who I met through my last live stream through the Akashic Records Soul Realignment Past Life Recall video I did shortly ago last year. And through this video, I encountered a very special guest, the Vegan Skeptic, who mentioned that they've been researching the Akashic Records and they have some clarifications they'd like to make about this theory in specific. So without further ado, I'll introduce the Vegan Skeptic. They have a Reddit page and they're here today on a call. So hi, how are you?
Good, good. I'm glad you decided to read the book. It's just so awesome, and I'm glad you're really open-minded to this information. I'm doing good, but how about yourself?
I'm really well, thank you. And chat, thanks for being here today. If you have any advice or comments, please let us know in the comments down below. And okay, so tell us about when you began this research and when you started posting on Reddit and the accomplishment of publishing your book.
It's been I've been like truth seeking for as long as almost I've known myself. Like it started, the weird stuff started happening to me after I had like a almost near death, like a car accident where a minibus hit me, and then as soon as the YouTube came around, and then I kind of signed into it, I started to see subliminal messages type of videos, or exposing Illuminati or whatever, that those type of videos. And since then, I was hooked to this point. And then, but especially after the pandemic has started, and then all this madness happened, then I was kind of eventually I dived into, like, beforehand I was already big on Gematria for a long while, and then that followed with like Mandela effect, then as well Astral Projection, and combination of those two topics got me into the new age, and eventually from the new age I that kind of got me into this community, the Matrix Reincarnation Soul Trap community. And that's where I kind of realized, oh, okay, everything I knew until this point was a great lead up to this point, but that now I kind of finally, after all these 7 to 24 years of seeking the truth, I kind of finally feel satisfied that I'm kind of at the last doors of truth seeking, basically.
Wow, I did not know that. I'm sorry to hear that you had your own near death experience yourself. Such a shock. Are you okay now?
Oh yeah, I just had like a lot of cities just done on my head. I don't remember anything. I was a kid and I woke up in the hospital, and that's all I remember, other than drinking hot chocolate in the hospital. But yeah, that's it. And when I was in like joined like the first elementary school, I remembered for that stuff for a second, like, and then I started thinking about how people feel like they get all their lives in front of their face. I don't know how you say it in English, but like when you at the moment of death, right? Like your whole life passes through you. And I kind of thought about that concept, and for a second, I almost had like brief flashes, and I kind of like seen some images or something. And that's only thing from that experience that I had when I was like a kid. But then all this truth seeking finally led me to this place, and I'm just so happy that everything I learned kind of eventually led me to this place.
Wow, thanks for sharing your story. I mean, it took a lot of, going through trauma for you to get to the point where you were researching all of this, but what an accomplishment that you were able to see the light at the end of the tunnel to place a pun. I mean, you talk about that and we're going to get into all the nitty-gritty details of what you've written in your book. So I had been gifted a copy of your ebook and you actually publish it for free, right?
Oh yeah, it's free for everyone to see. It's basically, we can talk about it more when I read like the Reddit post of it. That because I shared it on Reddit. I don't remember how long it's been since I shared it. I think over half a year ago, and yeah, it's just for people to. It's like a public service announcement from me to people. It's kind of like a thank you message to the people who kind of exposed me to the soul trap. Like I on YouTube, Mark from Forward Conscious Research being the one of my, like, where I learned a lot of the stuff I learned from about soul trap. And I'm just I'm basically right now, feel just happy that I had the chance to share everything I know with people, and that I had the chance after pandemic took my job away. I was like getting supported by the government funds, and as well as I had a lucky I'm lucky to have a good family, and among this time over the last 3 years when I had the free time, I was lucky to dive into this research 724, and then I also learned to actually speed watch the videos where with an app on like Chrome, I was able to watch videos even about 2x speed. So since then, like since last 3 years, I've been watching all these research videos when I don't do reading. I just watch these research videos on 3 times the speed or even sometimes 4 times the speed. And I kind of because of that, I kind of covered a lot of ground. So I was lucky to have that, and now I'm just lucky to have the opportunity to share what I know with people. I'm just so happy about that.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting this out for free. Honestly, it helps us reach more people that way. And like I said, I was gifted this copy. I started reading it. I was on page 50 and I thought, "Oh my goodness. I mean, it's free, so I need to share this with the audience and see what everyone else wants to say." I thought, I've streamed already for like 5 hours, and your book is about 200 pages. And I thought, why not? If it goes past a few hours, it's better to just read it and with everyone and see people's reactions. So, okay, you have a few chapters that you're going to explain before we start, right? Would you mind going through with us what you posted on Reddit for us to discover? I know this is specifically your Reddit page, but you've also posted about it on a Reddit thread titled Escaping Prison Planet, and this is posted by you, the Vegan Skeptic. So can you talk us through what you posted on this specific Reddit page?
Sure. Yeah, basically, I shared it here. Okay, it looks like it says not over half a year ago. It says 4 to 5 months ago, probably more. So 5 months, but it says 4 months here. I posted this over there, and and basically I titled it, my book about the reincarnation soul trap, waking up from the matrix, which is the name of the book, waking up from the matrix. And this is on escaping prison planet subreddit, but we also have reincarnation truth subreddit on Reddit that's about this topic. And yeah, basically what I said about it on that post is that hello everyone, this is my book, and that here's the Word document version, here's the EPUB version, here's the PDF version to my book. You can also read the whole thing on a Google document without downloading anything. And then I kind of gave background information on myself, where I explained, I had been like an agnostic atheist for 15 years, and where I had even like a website about evolution and debated the topic of evolution and atheism and all those topics around that issue with just so many religious people. And and I'm from Turkey as well, so I grew up Muslim, and I was just I ended up being successful in convincing many of my like friends, like my two of my best friends, my whole family about this issue regarding agnostic atheism and evolution. And then near 2-3 years ago now, I started having like out of body experiences. And then because of that, and then of course, after realizing the Mandela effect as well and seeing how scripted our reality is with Gematria, it kind of all started to make sense how this place functions. And then I had a basically unexpected like paradigm shift, which I wasn't expecting at all, because I was a super materialistic agnostic atheist. Like any topic of new age, any topic of astrology, any type of topics that these type of like stuff came out, I would be like super no, this is not right because of this and that. I would just be go on and on about that, because like I couldn't, if my old version heard what I'm saying right now, like he wouldn't believe at all. Like I would turn into this type of person. And I actually ended up talking about these topics with Mark from Forward Conscious Research channel at his channel, and then it got a good attraction there. The stuff I was talking about, and in the talk I kind of presented and talked about some of the Google documents that I write. And then, someone on Reddit like asked me, can you please, turn some of these like Google documents that you're writing into a, like a Word document so that I can, read it on my Kindle. And then my brother told me the same thing as well. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I now have like basically 10 plus different Google documents on different topics of the soul trap, matrix reincarnation topic. And then I kind of combine all of them into this Word document, and then kind of turned it into basically an ebook where, it's everything is combined together. And when it comes to me, like a bit like I really love, writing and helping people out. And thousands of, hours, like tireless, like research went into this topic, basically like my discoveries and this book eventually. And I believe that it's going to really benefit a lot of people in any communities like this community and many, including the soul chat community, because probably like there's many of my ideas even don't align with many people in the soul chat community as well, especially when it comes to the topic of like some stuff I say about how dreams function and how astral projection and what's really happening there, so other than this, of course, as you can realize from my accent a little bit, like English is not my second language, so there are a lot of grammar mistakes in the book, and the book was also like never proofread, or like it has like many typos and duplicate information along with grammar mistakes, and I don't have to like I since I started to write the book, like I didn't have a lot of time to fix all of this stuff, because I'm like now focusing on my career more, right? So and I can't afford like these type of editors or whatever. And so someone basically told me to later publish the book on Kindle, but right now I don't have the time to like polish the whole book and then share it over there, because they told me like apparently if I share it there, a lot more people is going to hear it. So in the future, I really want to like polish the whole thing, revamp it, add like 5 to 15 pages on every chapter, because I even have like chapters around 1 to 2 pages. Like it's not, it can't even be called a chapter, and this whole thing can't even be called a book, honestly, as it stands right now. But in the future, I definitely like if I find the time. And when I find it, like I want to add like even like 200 more pages to it, extend every chapter, add more of my experiences regarding OBs and lucid dreaming research, and just many other topics I want to expand on it, including Gematria. So and then maybe once it's like ready to publish, I'll try to put it out there on Kindle as cheap as I can put it out there, so that many new people can find this information as well. And I believe that much of the information I talked about in the book is definitely like not being talked about in many of the communities, and some of the stuff I talk about is not being talked about enough in the soul chat community as well. And so other than that, I guess what else I can say? Let me see here. I can just say that I'm sure that many of you guys can can overlook the mistakes in the book and focus on the ideas that are shared in it, because as I believe we are like all thirsty for knowledge and the truth out there. So I did my best to make the whole book easily understandable in the time that I had. But please feel free to ask me anything about it here too, which is why I kind of joined in here. When you like shared on Discord that you're gonna read the entire book on your live stream today, I was like super excited. And then I told you how I would love to join there too if there's anything, like be on mute, and then if there's anything that you need clarification while reading the book, I can pop in to explain everything that's necessary. And other than that, basically I'm all about doing like for people to do their own research, right? And this is kind of why I also shared like tons of links on this book. Like a lot of the stuff I say, I supported with the links, and for people who'd like to see these links and sources, they can definitely they are like free to download it on your description on this Reddit post. From this Reddit post rather, because like that's when they can reach to like click on these links to do their own research on the stuff I shared. And that's about it basically. I'm just I intend to save many other people from like wasting their time with endless rabbit holes, and also save them from getting tricked by deceptions that I fell for before when I was in New Age, and when I was in all of these other communities, including the Gematria community. And just like that these like random people did for me online, I'm just really I'm just blessed with the opportunity to kind of explain my own findings and my own discoveries with people. And I feel like the stuff I've talked about in the book is is going to be somewhat even paradigm shifting for some people, because I tried to put the information together in a way where I'm trying to convince my older self, right? Like my older super materialistic self. And even though I haven't done the best job that I can possibly do on that, and in the future I plan to do that, but I think as it stands, I felt like this information needed to get out there, and I'm happy with what I got so far. So yeah, that's basically all I want to say, and maybe I can read the titles of the chapters so that people can know what's going to be about.
Yeah, definitely. Amazing. Okay, I'd love you to read the chapters if you can start with that.
Sure. So yeah, basically the chapters I covered is so strong evidence behind reincarnation. This is when I kind of present how this topic is important, how there's just so much evidence, there's like strong evidence behind reincarnation. And then the second chapter is Earth a school for our soul's evolution? Because like this chapter goes into like a lot of like there's two schools of thoughts, right? Like either this place was done for a good purpose or kind of bad purpose, right? Like either this place is kind of like a school place for our learning, for our evolution, for our whatever, or there's this other now theory that's growing out there, and that's the matrix reincarnation soul trap theory. And this is where I kind of give the evidence behind why I believe this place is like a basically almost like a purgatory hell type of place, and it's kind of detrimental to our spirit and soul, and yeah, that's where I go into that. And then on the third chapter, I talk about the number. The title is "The Number 33 is quoted everywhere, but why?" And I kind of mentioned some Gematria stuff in there too. And a fourth chapter, the repeating time loops are everywhere too. And then the other chapter is 666 connections that indicate how we live in a hellish realm. Then I have proving how scripted our reality is by using conspiracies, this is where you need to be careful while reading it, because there's a lot of sensitive information on the whole thing that's been happening in the last 3 years, and some other stuff. So, and then I get into in the seventh chapter a perspective that the people who woke up to soul trap need to know. So from this chapter on, it's usually like mostly kind of good information about to give to the people who are even in the soul trap community. So by that point, you'll be prepped for the information that I want to even share with the soul trap community, because I believe there's a lot in our community even who see things in a way where I believe it's dangerous to go into that type of beliefs. And then the other stuff is basically the other chapter is getting lost in the sauce with manipulated dreams and astral projections. This is where my, quote unquote crazy beliefs come into the picture, and where I talk about some very deep stuff about how even our dreams could be manipulated, how we may even get, just like with the reincarnations, how they get kind of mind wiped or whatever, to go into new lives. Even every day, maybe we get almost like a mind wiped, from remembering our dreams, remembering our outer layer experiences, I would say, from this place. And yeah, I kind of talk about that stuff in that chapter. And then the next other chapters are how to meditate and the importance of meditation in out-of-body experiences. So yeah, that's about meditation. And then the next chapter I talk about from then on how to achieve lucid dreaming and astral projection much easier. So this is when because I know, like, I didn't believe in how I thought it was all in the head, right, when it comes to astral projection. But then I kind of, with my own experiences, I kind of proved it to myself that, okay, it's not. And I had the paradigm shift, realizing I was wrong. And then this is kind of why I really encourage others to learn it and kind of experience it themselves. And I gave all the best, like, cheat codes, shortcuts to achieve this easily, like years of work. You can actually master them in a few months. So, and this is where you can learn how to do all that. And then I talk about what about, the weed and how that would, if that would help people out. And, that's kind of talks about how that's kind of a little bit detrimental when it comes to lucid dreaming and astral projection practice, but there's more details on that as well, and to counter it. And then the other chapter is why is this earth being hijacked, and Tartaria narratives are dangerous. And yeah, that's when I go into the Tartaria stuff and other stuff. And then what about saving this matrix with group action? A lot of people believe with group action, like even in Gematria community, they think they kind of wake everyone up on Gematria. or trying to, right? But at the end of the day, we live in a a type of place that's, I don't think it's going to allow a lot of people to wake up. And so yeah, that's where I go into that. And then another chapter is this life a video game? That's an interesting topic. And then the next chapter is the dangers of psychedelics pertaining to reincarnation soul trap. This is where I talk about how even the dream astral projection type of manipulations and those type of manipulations happen a lot of places, like near-death experiences and pre-birth memories and all this other stuff, but that they also happen in psychedelic experiences too, which is a warning that I talk about in that chapter. And then another the next chapter is my reply to a Redditor about my psychedelics post, because I posted my psychedelics chapter on the Reddit in some places, and then there was this one person who really disagreed with my message, who was about we are all one, and then this god that, source god, whatever. And then that's kind of my debate that I had with that guy is included in that chapter. And then the other chapter is basically why I believe that NPCs exist in real life. And I don't mean, just like I talked about this extensively with the first talk, like 6.5 hour talk I did with Mark from Forever Conscious Research. This topic is like a sensitive topic and very interesting topic. And I don't mean anything by like anything disrespectful by, like, I don't encourage people to call anybody NPC or whatever. But I take this issue as like I don't even like to call NPC. I say like unreincarnated, unspirited beings, basically, where they have a soul, but they may not have the spirit. They may not have what we have, quote unquote. And then, and I believe that's kind of, I go into details on that with respect, And then on the 18th chapter, I talk about, are we just an advanced NPC or artificial intelligence in our own essence, right? That's an interesting topic. And then the next chapter is issues with Vespenre and escaping from the holes of the grid trap. Then I go into the gatekeeper red flags from a well-known YouTuber in the soul trap community. And then on the other next chapter, I talk about what about Eric Dubay and David Icke. Then the next chapter is what about the love of one, the Ra stuff, the channeled information from so-called the entity Ra and the god or whatever. And then the next chapter, I talk about interesting anime about humans, eating human eating aliens that farm humans, which is kind of correlates with our experience here, basically how this earth is almost like a prison farm for us. And then the other next chapter is kind of, I go into healthy eating, and then I talk about benefits of a healthy diet when it comes to exit plans, which is kind of a famous phrase in the soul tap community when they talk about, okay, so since just like here, there are manipulations and distractions and deceptions here, it's out there as well in the outer layers of the quote unquote matrix. And that, what we need to do to kind of avoid those traps that may be set out there. And I kind of forgot to mention from the very beginning, I should have mentioned that anything that I'm saying right now is my own thesis, right? Nobody ever should believe in anything that people say online. These are, of course, anybody could, like, if they say with guarantee that this is going to take place in afterlife, they are either lying or they are deluded people, because nobody can ever know about this topic. So it's very, very important when people are talking about this topic to kind of mention that I don't know, nobody knows, but these are the my conclusions from after seeing investigating the data points out there around this issue. And we have actually 20 plus different data points, including like not only just experiencer data from near-death experiences and pre-birth memories, which interestingly, near-death experiences, 95% of the people didn't want to come back here, but they are here. And then 15% had a hell-like experience, and then 40% of them even felt like they were forced back here, right? So there are some interesting stuff to talk about that stuff. But then we have 19 other plus like data points out there that also shows us there's trickery involved in here, just like there as well. So as above, so below message kind of meaning is that. And then on the other chapters, I talk about, like, because I've been a vegan for 10 plus years now. And in this chapter, I kind of talk about the conspiracies about veganism and the Soylent Green movie, because I see especially in the last few years with the carnivore movement, there's a lot of misinformation that's going on, and some good information and some bad information. And I kind of debunk the bad information and mention the good information in that chapter. Talk about if the veganism is the new world order diet, and then if for a new age diet. So yeah, that's where I talk about that. And then in the 26th chapter, it's with my exchanges with someone on Reddit regarding these issues. But again, once we start this like 25th chapter, like you don't even need to read like this from 26th chapter point on, like from after like you are at the 215th page or something, or 200th. You don't need to read the rest of the book then, because it's not really much about Soul Trap other than these last few chapters that I'll talk about. But yeah, then I talk about my debate with someone else who didn't like my post about this topic, and then on the other chapters, it's about what about Sideris's malnourishment claims, because there's this famous crazy YouTuber guy, Sideris, who had claims against veganism, and then I talk about if he is right or not. And then on the next chapter, I talk about why financial freedom is important and how do I plan to achieve it personally. And then on the 29th chapter, I talk about a list of conscious YouTubers I recommend following, and now you're of course included in that chapter.
Oh, thank
and then
you.
On the yeah, and in the 30th chapter is about a warning about the scammers in the Soul Trap community. And of course, in every community, we have these different type of people who try to take advantage of people like us, who are seeking the truth. I expose some people, I think, who may be, scammers on that chapter. And then there's the bonus chapter, which is when I wrote more about, veganism. So yeah, these like last 5-6 chapters, you don't even need to read really. But yeah, that's basically an outline of the whole book.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for going through that. We're going to go through it really quick. We'll skim basically the whole book and get most of the points out. But before that, I wanted to just quickly check. You obviously have a YouTube channel. Then you also recommend Forever Conscious Research Channel, right? They're kind of like one of the main instigators of this theory.
I would say that firstly, yes, of course, Mark from Forever Conscious Research Channel has been the biggest YouTuber out there to expose this message. And then we have we have Wayne Bush from trickedbythelight.com, who had like that website for almost 25 years. Mm-hmm. So he has been basically exposing the Soul Trap information for 20 plus years. And he is literally the nicest guy you can ever find online, and you can really see this easily by watching any of his interviews. He has done many interviews, and on his main page of his website, trickedbythelight.com, he kind of as soon as he does an interview online, he shares it on that main page. He doesn't though have his own YouTube channel, but he does go into many other channels. And in the description of your video, I kind of wrote you shared my writing on his links that I had, and then also his interview series that he did with Mark from Forever Conscious Research Channel. He done like 9 videos with him, and I would consider those like a must watch on this topic, because all these hundreds of pages of information that Wayne Bush has been gathering on his trickedbythelight.com website, he actually summarized all of that in those 9 video series. And yeah, that people will learn tons from that stuff when they go into that. And then we also have actually Decode the Matrix, which I'd consider like the biggest, like the best Gematria decoder in the world, because she's not lost in the sauce with the rest of the Gematria community, kind of only focusing on the Gematria stuff and not coming up with good conclusion, like why is this happening, and I believe like the NPC theory and Soul Trap theory perfectly explains why everything basically is scripted. But anyway, like I get into this a little bit more in the book. And then so people can really, like in your community, I hope more people find Decode the Matrix, because yeah, her work on this is great. And other than that, we have Dan from Overwatch channel. So he has the website overwatchproject.com, and he has his channel, Overwatch channel, and he has been exposing this for a while as well, just like Mark from Forever Conscious Research channel. And then we have Howdy McCoskey, who was actually, over the last year, he has started to dive deep into this topic, and then he even wrote his 4th book now, very recent book, like a few weeks ago or something. He published it. It's called Exit the Cave, and he's like I consider him like one of the best philosophers of our time. And in his book Exit the Cave, like I even helped him a little bit for the editing his first chapters in the book. And then I with two of my friends as well from Mark's community, and we all kind of can confirm, like easily how it's the best book ever written on Soul Trap, and that it's like one of the really great, excellent books to read out there. So I'd really encourage others to check that out, which I shared the link about like him even how they reading his own first chapter in the book in his YouTube channel, where people can get an idea of his book, which is an excellent book. And then we have also Jake from Salt Humans channel, which is like a really up and coming great guy who has started to expose the Soul Trap in a great way. Then actually I forgot to mention you. We have Free at Last. I can send you her link later on because she has done the like a two part one and part two videos on Soul Trap, which are like almost perfect like documentary style videos exposing the Soul Trap, except the part two video when she mentions like some Wes Penre information, which I actually have dedicated a whole chapter on Wes Penre and his the issues with some of the things he says. But regardless of that, like the videos Free at Last did on her channel is like the best documentary videos basically. Like each 20 minutes or 15 minutes something videos, that's like a mandatory watch, I would say, because she really put it out there nicely. So yeah, that's basically all people that really like been exposing this topic in a great way. But then we have plenty more. Like I can just keep on going and going with these people. This is why I have the chapter conscious YouTubers that I recommend checking out, where I talk about all the YouTubers that I believe it's worth checking out.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. So I'm going to go back
My
to
pleasure.
introduce myself. I'm on camera now. And I have actually Zachary K. Hubbard's in this channel. And you're familiar with Zach's work. You actually credit some of the Gematria knowledge that you found to Zach, right? Am I correct on that?
Oh yeah, I learned basically, I would say, like everything I learned about Gematria from him, and he is just like a excellent source of information when it comes to this. Like he is of course the teacher of the like he of this whole movement, like a leader of this whole movement, and he's like I find like I would consider him like a very smart guy, very well read. He explains everything perfectly. I just like mentioned in my book how I don't really recommend people to go into like a sport gematria decoding type of stuff, betting, gematria, because I don't really, I kind of, had really bad experiences with that on myself, and I find it like a almost 50-50 thing, and that's kind of my one warning would be, not about Zach, of course, I'm talking about the whole gematria community, but yeah, other than that, I mean, just like I learned definitely a lot from Zach's books, and I was a Patreon member for him for a long time too. And yeah, basically, I have nothing but good things to say about him.
Oh, that's great. I think Zach actually mentioned in the last stream that he was cooking a vegan dinner and he asked if you've been vegan for 10 years. Was that right?
Oh yeah, that's another thing I love about Zach. Like he's a fellow vegan, and yeah, I've been a vegan for 10 plus years.
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah. So, because a lot of people read your username and they're wondering, are you a skeptic of veganism or you
Oh
a
yeah,
vegan that's really skeptic? And it's that, like, you are a vegan that has been skeptic your whole life. You were atheist and agnostic for so long until you convinced yourself through the research that you found through Gematria and Soul Trap to become more spiritual. Is that it?
yeah, that's definitely it. And yeah, I should like open your chat really because I'm just super excited that Zach is here because I kind of back in the day I sent him like a Patreon message kind of trying to let him know about like the simulation stuff, I think, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I mean, I'm just super excited that the leader of movement is here because I have important stuff to share on this, not only the gematria topic and my conclusions on it, but then this whole other new topic and the community that I believe really are, have discovered the last, doors that lead to some bigger important information. And yeah, I'm just super excited that he's here to kind of hear what I have to say on this stuff and what I wrote on the book.
Awesome. Well, I am curious about the Gematria on some of this. I have shared before that I found that reincarnation equals 141, which was really interesting because our Gematria calculator that we have for the community that was created by Derek Takuri, he named his calculator Gematrinator, and that actually equals the same thing as reincarnation, 141. And then you get really interesting matches because you get the real world and you get the metaverse, and you also get World War III with 141, all tying back to reincarnation. So it's almost like a play on, the real world, the fake world, and the world war that they want us all to contribute to in order to keep us here or whatnot. But, in my Akashic works, I had come to the conclusion that this is an organic world, that it's okay to reincarnate continuously, but you had a different approach, which we'll get to in this book. But before we go to that conclusion, I'm considering putting Soul Trap in here. So we get 1 to 2. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with 1 to 2. If you are, please let us know. Are you familiar with that number for Soul Trap in English Ordinal?
No, 122, I'm not. Usually when I try to search for a number, I open both of Zach's books that I have, and then I just write that number, and it's always usually there's a really great decode that's done on those. Any number I usually find, if it's an important number that I think, I definitely find a lot of information on that. And yes, when you talk about the metaverse stuff, they're definitely, it seems like they are almost creating another layer within the matrix, kind of inception of matrices, right? And it's definitely great timing for us to kind of dabble into this type of soul trap, information when those type of stuff are coming out, which show, even with the new VR sets that we have, people can't even right now distinguish real life from these metaverse type of, VR places. And we have videos online, how showing people there are some, fake items in the room, and then there are some real items, and from the fake VR items they just can't distinguish if it's actually in that room or not, and we are already there basically. So yeah, it's definitely interesting stuff.
100%. I'm just going through a list in the database, seeing if I see anything for Soul Trap. Not right away, but I'm sure someone will end up posting something that makes sense here. All right, well, let's get into the book. I love the cover. You said you created the cover through the AI art Midjourney app, right?
Oh yeah, my brother told me about that, and then I was like, I didn't have a cover for the book, and then since I can't really afford, I didn't want to pay money for it, for this free book, I was like, okay, let me go in there, try to write some stuff, see what comes up. And then I was amazed how fast and how interesting and fascinating these arts were generated in just so little amount of time. So yeah, I basically just played around with it with the free version, and then once I was done with the 25 images free version, I just kept creating new Discord accounts to kind of keep playing with it. And then eventually I liked this cover basically, which is just a guy kind of, all this inside the matrix, and he's going his own way, just kind of like me. I went my own way. I kind of allow, I have friends, but I've been always in love with just doing research, 7/24. Instead of playing games, instead of doing anything just watching TV or whatever, I just love learning and learning. And I went my own way of doing that, and then I eventually discovered all this stuff.
Amazing. Okay, well, we're going to go into the first chapter then. I just saw that Soul Trap actually equals Pope Francis. I'm sure Zach knows all about this number, but it was kind of news to me. And it's funny because you think about the Vatican and the Pope Francis and everything, and it seems like they'd be at the helm of trying to get souls trapped here by contributing to all sorts of degeneracy. So it's funny that matches.
By the way, I see on the chat now, I'm able to open the chat, someone saying my name apparently equals to 66, and that's number of the beast equals 66. And I'm like, okay, this is another issue I have with this community. There's a lot of paranoia and a lot of these type of stuff going on, and it's a rightful paranoia, right? It's, of course, these type of stuff are interesting, but then we can't really, just because we cut a connection from one cipher and then saying, okay, because like this nickname is just a random nickname
Yeah.
I got. Like I had like it was a Turkish channel to beginning. It called Şüpheci insan, which means skeptic human. And then I was like, okay, I made vegan videos, and then I was gonna do the atheist vegan because I thought that was good, the vegan atheist or rather. And then I
Yeah.
saw that was taken because there's already YouTuber about that. So I was like, okay, what is the next? I thought, oh, skeptic, because it's another word of saying kind of like a free thinker, agnostic atheist. And I took that, and this is kind of important to notice, like we shouldn't like really take one thing and then
Yeah.
boom call people. She was like, when I watched your last live stream I happened to see, I was just so saddened by where the community, like I haven't been following the Gematria community other than Decode the Matrix, basically her breakdowns, and seeing that type of video, it really kind of saddened me because it's this whole system actually kind of using everyone to basically divide us, right? Like probably I would assume like there's no way, I don't think a lot of shills and gatekeepers like knowingly are in this community trying to like do their best to expose this knowledge while having in mind that okay, I'm gonna deceive these people or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I that's why like I was like sad, like, oh holy shit, where did this Gematria community go to? I can't believe like it turned into this. I was just sad. And I know like it just naturally happens in every community. As soon as like there's like new information and there is, oh, you don't know about this, that means you're a shill. Oh, your name comes to this in this fucking cipher, and then on this other cipher it comes to this. What about this? What's up? Like it's just like so unnecessary. We are all trying to seek the truth here, and I think we should be more supportive of each other. Yes, there are people have issues, a lot of issues. Like we all have our own issues, but that's just natural. That's just the system fucking with us, basically. The system is putting us into these shells, the limited shells, and then there's the intrusive thoughts. There's these manipulations that's going on outside environment that's all scripted and all kind of prolonging our suffering here. So it's a whole messed up system to begin with, and then we add this type of inner divisions, inner stuff on top of that, and I don't really like seeing that. I hope this community really recovers from this type of stuff, gets better, and that they also are open-minded about this soul trap information, because I believe truly, once people definitely check out my book, once people check out the sources I shared, I think a lot of the real truth seekers, real spirits out there will definitely find this information interesting, because it directly follows the information that came from Gematria, showing us the life is scripted. But then how can it be this scripted, and how, like, and why, and all these important questions, I believe they are perfectly answered within the soul trap theory and within the NPC theory.
Amazing. Okay, well, let's get to the first few chapters here. So let's talk about strong evidence behind reincarnation, because you don't have to convince me. I'm already convinced. Like I said, I have done a course on the Akashic Records, which, to explain that to anyone now, is just basically the fifth dimension, where theoretically all human archives, all human lifetimes are archived. So any thought, action, in our lives that we do, it gets stored in this hypothetical fifth dimension where you can access. It's encrypted to yourself. So that kind of is something that you wrote about in here. So strong evidence behind reincarnation. Basically, you added the Akashic Records, right? But what else did we say? So someone who's been agnostic atheist for 15 years, you denied reincarnation, and you never really looked in it in an open-minded way. So when something that didn't fit in with your understanding, you rejected it. And then let's see, like you.
Well, one thing I can inject here, when it comes to Akashic Records, I'm not sure actually where I mentioned this Akashic Record thing. And if I mentioned it, I probably mentioned it in a way where I say, okay, this is like a database in the metaverse universe, right?
Yeah.
Where people can tap into, but not as in like it's all comes in with. It's not really they are tapping into anything. It's that they're tapping into basically almost like themselves, or and it can come with trickery, right? Like many information, like, because astral projection is all about, I feel like, a lot of people getting lost in the source of the outer simulations of this place. And
Why do you say that, by the way? That term, lost in the sauce, is very interesting. I know English is not your native language, so where did you pick that up before you continue?
I actually picked that up from a YouTuber I watched, like a web developer YouTuber, and he's like where was it from? What was it? Something Republic, Dominic Republic, was it? I forgot how do you say it. But yeah, I mean he said that a lot when he was talking, and he had kind of like a street phrases when he was talking, man,
Okay.
people are fucking lost in the sauce and this all this stuff, and then I kind of like that type of figure of speech.
Okay.
And yeah, that's basically I got it from. But yeah, but going back to the Akashic record thing though, like I definitely consider that like a new age type of stuff
Yeah.
where a lot of people can get tricked. They think they went into it, they think they got some sort of good, valuable information to it from it, but then that information definitely may come from the matrix or the system or AI or whatever the demiurge that Gnostics call it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend like people to, okay, guys, do astral projection just so you can tap into Akashic records. No, it's all about kind of avoiding all these distractions and tapping within, trying to find the solutions within, and not
Mm-hmm.
even while doing that, don't just think like, okay, I have a higher self that I can get messages from. No, like right now, our higher self is mind wiped into this place. We are our higher self basically, and then with lucid dreaming, astral projections, and even going to the higher states, we can experience even higher powers that we originally had but lost because of this system mind wiping us. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean these are important notes to make when we are talking about this Akashic Records thing.
Thanks for clarifying. And I will agree with you that I learned this. I actually had to pay $1,000 for a course to learn about the Akashic Records. It was trademarked and everything, and I had this teacher. And for a while, before I knew Gematria, I had no intentions of decoding her name. And then I did decode her name on the live stream, and I realized the name of my teacher on the Akashic Records equals 112. And of course, through Zach's work, we know that the Jesuits operate in 112 countries. That equals Catholicism and English Ordinal. So her name matched that. And I was like, oh, right away, she's the disinformation agent. And so I'm really confused because I understand there's some truths that they're trying to say, but they muddy it up. And like you said, if you tap in, you can get so much misinformation. And all right, well, thank you for clarifying that. But as far as I know, that was kind of like my strongest reaction towards reincarnation, that there was that. And let's see, you make some points here. So let me go ahead. So one of the first points is that reincarnation is frequently rejected as impossible by those who worship at the altar of materialism. Yet for those with an open mind, you realize that logic and reason cannot possibly grasp the phenomena of the universe. And beliefs in reincarnation have been around for a long time. It's widely regarded in Tibetan Buddhism, Hinduism, and even, I thought this was interesting. You say even the Catholic Church held reincarnation as true before the 4th century AD. Is that true? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah.
Why did the Catholic Church at some point value reincarnation as true, and then in the 4th century they standardized the doctrines to disinclude that?
Yeah, that's actually brings up even deeper topics because I don't truly see this place as like, okay, we had this Roman Empire and then this Ottoman Empire, then we had this other empires and all these wars, and then before that we had this century, that century. Like I don't really see all that as I don't accept any of the history that's being told to us, right?
Okay.
And even in the phrase of English, like it's saying his story, right?
Yeah.
And then of course the lie berry, right? So it's filled with lies.
Good one.
And what I would say is that I don't really believe these historic facts to begin with, but that these historic facts are constantly showing us, like the Qadars, for example, that belong to like Gnostics and Qadars,
Yeah.
are two main like communities, like people, like religious people, came from like Christianity mostly, right? And then they believe that reincarnation was basically, not good, kind of like, Buddhists, and and or rather than like this place is not good, and that this is not the place to reincarnate into, and that and that these gods that people talk about in these religions are actually Satan, are actually the bad gods. They call it the demiurge. So,
Okay.
and then these Gnostics and Katars were basically killed off but this is all according to the history that I don't believe in. But then what I'm saying is that throughout the history, we see this not just with Buddhism and Hinduism, but there's a lot of information that's coming up with this that's related to reincarnation. It's kind of basically the system hiding the truth in plain sight, right? And that's kind of what I see it. Like this system is throughout, just like with these Gematria narratives that's going on, kind of exposing itself via Gematria, how it functions like as simulation with mathematically.
Yeah.
Same thing with anything else. So yeah, that's basically important thing to note here.
Okay.
To not get fooled by this history stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's at the same time it's very interesting that even the history kind of has many clues, just like TVs, movie shows, news, a lot of stuff that kind of hinting at the fact that we are in a soul trap reality, just like the 20 other different data points that I talked about throughout the book.
Okay, great. So I agree with you. It's still just fascinating because at the end of the day, they do teach these books as a point for us to reference. Okay, so then you get into the psychiatrists who investigated 3,000 cases of very young children remembering previous lives. I've heard of that, some interviews about that. So I'm not sure if you included it, but you also know like the first law of thermodynamics, that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, allegedly, right? Only transferred. So that would be another point to reincarnation, as if, if there's everything has a life cycle, then why wouldn't the human soul have a life cycle as well?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so you link a lot of the studies, which is great. Evidence of reincarnation at Cambridge University as well. So basically, you're asserting all these like scientific papers that have proof of past life recall, and you link everything, which is fantastic. So thanks for like compiling all this. It's really incredible. So
Yeah, you're welcome. And yeah, there's definitely a lot, even like scientists are linked there who investigated these reincarnations and then eventually realized, okay, there's definitely strong evidence behind this stuff, where it's not just people claiming they've been Cleopatra or whatever. It's actually, we are talking about 2 to 6 years old kids who have tons of information about their past lives, and then in the case of that stuff you just referenced, these people like go into their like locations of the places that these kids claimed that they were in before, and then they find out, oh yeah, like these families they talk to, oh yeah, like my guitar was upstairs, right? Is it still upstairs? And then I can play it, and then he plays the guitar, and then all this other stuff that comes into it, where okay, like 2,000 to 3,000 like kids, how are they so specific? How do they know all this information? And then we have many incredible amount of these kids with like so much proof. And then we all even have their birthmarks, where it, like from, let's say they were stabbed, right, in their past lives, like before dying, and they have those birthmarks there on their next lives, exactly where they claim they were stabbed. So there's even like interesting stuff like that goes with this information that's kind of indicates to us, okay, reincarnation there's just so much strong evidence behind it at this point.
great. Can you talk to us about near-death experiences and what that means? Because that's what you bring up next.
Yeah, basically, we have a lot of people who have near-death experience, just like it says on your screen, 200,000 Americans a year have near-death experiences, and most of the people don't even remember their experiences if they had an experience, kind of like a breakthrough experience that's talked about in the psychedelics experiences. A lot of people don't really remember these near-death experiences, but then many do as well. And then the ones that do, 95+% of them didn't want to come back, but then they saw the people, basically whoever can trick them the most, right? Whether it's past loved ones, whether it's Jesus, whether it's Buddha, anything that they believed in before dying, they faced that type of scenario where, of course, seeing that would really, convince those people, right? Because so the system is based, this is kind of why I talk about artificial intelligence or some sort of like an automated system, they merge being in control of this place, because how automated it is, how like it's controlling the, like the manipulation of the dreams that could be going on. And then we have the manipulations of the out of body experiences that's going on. But then when people die, they find themselves in basically this astral plane, which is, I would say, the outer layer of the matrix, still inside the matrix. And then they face these entities, just like with astral projection people, how they got lost in the sauce with these spirit guides, these angels, these astral cities, these all this stuff that they kind of are getting played with, from AIs or whatever's mind games. Same thing happening in NDs. They are getting played with these stuff where they go kind of like with a lot of the religions, right? They talk about the light at the end of the tunnel, and then it's a good thing. And then these people go in there, and then they all of a sudden start to see like these angels or spirit or whatever that's convincing them the most, like past loved ones, And then and it's interesting because just like you talked with the Akashic Records, like this system, the information is stored somewhere, right? Like a lot of our information is stored. Everything that we experience is stored somewhere, because it's clearly, when we see that these people go into the white light, and then they talk to these entities, and then they have their past life reviews that they face, where they seeing their whole life ahead of them, right? Like they kind of talk about these in NDs. People talk about how they basically had their a life review where they saw all the bad that they did, some good that they did, but mostly the bad that they did. And even if the bad we are talking about is like not helping an elderly woman to cross the road, even those little things kind of come up. So you could be the perfect like person, but then even if you have you did something wrong as a child, that will come up, which is what we see in these experiences as well. And then they kind of say, okay, you know what, the karma, the sinning, whatever we kind of created in the world to brainwash you with from these religions or new age, or even atheism, because atheists thought there is no afterlife. So as soon as they see that there is, then they're going to be, okay, I was wrong. What is next? And then what is next will be the deceptions and manipulations that they will easily get tricked at, probably. But with these religious people, which is the most of the people in the world, they get tricked with, these past loved ones. And then, of course, the system, I would say, already reincarnated their past loved ones into this world or many other matrices. But that because they have this information, because these ND people can talk about how they are actually seen from the other person's point of view, the person that they hurt from when they were having the life, that kind of means that, okay, these information are stored somewhere, that these or this matrix kind of the system as a whole has that information, and it uses this against us. So in a way, there is no privacy. In a way, everything is already recorded, including actually your thoughts even, which is interesting because those type of stuff come up too. But yeah. So what else did you ask about that?
No, yeah, I haven't really heard about it before, so it was kind of like I needed an introduction to it, so thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, so that also proves, as you're talking about the reincarnation. So what about astral projection? That's another term that you're talking about here.
Yeah, astral projection is definitely an interesting one, because that's kind of what proved me that as soon as I did it, and then I looked back and I saw my body, and then I was able to repeat the information, repeat the stuff, and then I was like, okay, there's definitely some interesting stuff going on here, because I thought there is no afterlife. I thought there is no such a thing as soul. In this community, we kind of talk about more of a spirit rather than a soul, and that we say that soul is something that's given to us by like this matrix, but that we have our own spirit with us. But anyway, and then
Okay.
there's definitely like even like that. I just see on your screen that page where it says, the ex-NASA physicist and the author of the My Big Toe Theory of Everything trilogy books, Tom Campbell. He actually learned it from Robert Monroe, who is like the leader of a kind of astral projection movement, as he has written three amazing books on the topic. and kind of made it famous. And yeah, Tom Campbell ended up learning it from him, and then along with another physicist friend of Tom Campbell, they both learned it, and then from different rooms they said, okay, we're gonna astral project and then speak in the astral, right, with each other, and then come back to the real life, quote unquote, and then talk about what we said. And then they both recorded their conversations after they did the astral projection were recorded. And then when they played these recordings, they saw that yes, exactly what they talked about in the astral. Actually, they both talk about the same scenario that happened. And then I included the links on him talking about this. But then yeah, I did the same thing. I kind of noticed, okay, there's definitely another basically layer to this place. And then of course we have like 60% of the population having like these what is it called, the astral projection, basically like having it like once. And then we have like lucid dreaming is already scientifically proven anyway. And then we have the false awakenings that 90% of the people kind of realize, where they think they woke up, they are brushing their teeth, they realize, oh, it's still a dream, or they think they go to work or whatever. And at some point some people realize this, and these kind of go all similar to astral projection type of stuff that's happening in those experiences. And yeah, and there's a lot of studies actually that's been done by Michael Raduga on this, where they kind of prove that the stuff they do in the astral, kind of how it reflects with the science, like they hook their brains up with all these like stuff, and then how exactly like just like the lucid dreaming, when it's scientifically proven to they tell people, okay, you move your eyes to the left and then right, or do this type of thing, and then when we tell you to, or like when you're in the dream state, so that we know that you are lucid, and that you are still in the sleeping mode. And yeah, that's when they kind of prove the lucid dreaming. But then we also have the book of Hacking the Out of Body Experience, Leveraging Science to Induce OBEs by Robert Peterson, who actually hacks everything with a lot of scientific studies that's been done on these type of stuff, these issues, where it kind of for even a skeptic, just like when it comes to these reincarnation evidence, you can't really deny these type of stuff because there's just too much of it. And in the future, I'm sure, but I still recommend learning it yourself and doing it yourself, because that's when you're going to see it with your own eyes,
Right.
quote unquote. And yeah.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Like, it's honestly so new to me, and I'm sure a lot of people watching as well. So, okay, so that's basically your first chapter. Now, this was what got me real hooked, is the second chapter, is Earth a School for Our Soul's Evolution. You're expanding on your thesis because, once, here I'll read up straight from it. Once one wakes up to the fact that reincarnation is real and that this is probably not our first time in this world, it all comes down to the question of why. Why do basically all of us have to go through this suffering-filled existence in a mind-wiped state? Is reincarnation a tool that is being used for us to learn lessons or for our spiritual growth, or is it a trick? So then you say, I believe that Earth schools, life lessons, soul evolutions, universe testing us, etc., are all just the biggest scams we've ever fallen for, just the best kind of excuses for someone with Stockholm Syndrome, which means when you're like in some sort of tie with your abuser, which the abuser would be whoever's operating this earth, right, would believe, which only works to just gaslight themselves in reality. When I hear people say how the earth is a school, I am always reminded of the famous saying from the lead character of a good TV show called The Good Place on Netflix, which starts with the lead character waking up in the good place, which is heaven, after her death. And minor spoiler, after facing some stressful situations, she figures out that she's actually in the bad place, which is hell, where in reality she is surrounded by demons who are messing with her, at which point when she realizes, oh, this is the bad place, and then she gets mind wiped, reset to the first day over and over again each time she realizes she's in a bad place. Sounds awful like our lives here. So can you comment about that? You're basically saying that a lot of us believe that this is an organic world, that there's some sort of God here and protecting our souls, and that every lifetime we gain new skills and we grow with the evolution of technology. But you're saying that being here on Earth is actually a prison, and it's detrimental, and it's basically a simulation created to be a trap.
Yeah, I mean, even when you look into the third book by Howard Mikoski, who exposed like the what's really going on with the what's potentially really been going on with the world fairs, which has been a lot of them in the world, and
Yes,
they came around.
okay. I know
And
what you
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
yeah.
oh yeah, and basically, I'm not going to talk much about that one, but it's kind of shows us like we may have even have been repeating the last 200 years for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For maybe 100 times, or maybe these just like the different timelines that are happening, that we are just playing these scripted timelines that were already designed from way before, and that they are initiated by potentially non-player characters, which is a chapter we'll get into. But yeah, I mean, it could be that, and this is the interesting part. So it's just a different two schools of thoughts though when it comes to, is this place for our for our good or for our bad. And
Hmm.
yeah, and I see this place as like a casino where you win some but you lose more. And this is kind of why I strongly advise against not going into gambling, as I learned it from the hard way, which is like this system is already programmed perfectly to make you lose eventually, right? Because it all ends with suffering at the end anyway. Like everything rots, and eventually everything ends in death. Eventually, that's our only guarantee, and everything else is on the in the air. And which shows the evil and sadistic nature behind this place. And in this chapter, I go into like 100 different things to explain and show how the evil within this place is much worse, and much like the amount of it is just so much higher than the good in this place. And that's why I reference it to the casino thing, because casino makes you win the $90, but then eventually you lose the $100, right? So you eventually start off like end with less money than you started with, but because of those winnings and the addiction and the endorphins flowing through while winning, and everything, every other millions of dollars of mechanism and science and manipulation went into it, we get fooled by it at the end of the day. And that's what the new age community is fooled by: the love in this place, the good in this place. And then they try to, with their Stockholm syndrome basically, and they just gaslight themselves into thinking this is a good place. But when you think about how, if this is a school, then how come we don't get to keep the things we learn, right? Because if we are learning all throughout high school, and then right before going into the university exams, we get a mind wipe, then we won't be able to pass that exam. So, and this place is like that, and plus, like, how many people learn better while suffering versus not suffering? If my teacher keeps smacking me around if I do mistakes, and then instead of like kind of encouraging me to do better or whatever, which one is better? Which one would you learn in a better way in that scenario? Of course, the suffering way. And again, the suffering is, I don't even want to go, I can go into 200 different things about how suffering is involved, which I got into in this chapter. But it's just so sadistic, so evil, so diabolical. It's insane. And yeah, I mean, and then plus, yeah, this is why I kind of like these school narratives, like this place being a school. It just doesn't make sense at all, considering everything that I've talked about in that chapter, and considering the 20 plus data points that show us, no, this is not a school. This is all filled in deception, manipulation, and all kinds of stuff.
I love what you said, and I was actually tricked by the love and light, like you said. A lot of it is from, I guess it started in the 1960s with the hippie revolution, and it's almost okay. I knew that the CIA had basically disseminated acid and all these psychedelics out into the crowd through these rock stars and stuff, but I'd never understood why. Like, why would they allow psychedelic drugs to be part of a movement and become flower power and hippie and all love? Now it makes sense, because that's part of trapping us here. Like, for them to open that love, everything is love gate, that means that we're tricked, like you said, and fooled by this being a wonderful place, when potentially, obviously, it's not. Because what was happening when all that love and hippie movement was all these wars as well. So I get what you mean. It's amazing that you've discovered this. So thank you for sharing like what you have. Like you say, wars, genocides, pain, sickness, rape, like homeless people. There's some really sensitive stuff here, but I mean, it's all contributing to the fact that you're saying that, like you said, it's if we're not meant to keep our memories, then we're suffering the abuse, and if our teachers are making us suffer, then we're not actually learning to our fullest extent. So that completely, like, it brought about a new dawning of realization for me. So thank you. Like here, I think it's where you said upside down logic from the everything is love crowd. Now the question remains for those believe the world is a school and that we are here to learn lessons. What is it that I learned by doing the laundry for the 1,000th time? You know, if the afterlife is full of love, why are we here to learn love? And here's where you actually talk about the Akashic Records. You say the same people who claim we are here to learn are the same people who claim our soul is complete the way it is because we come from Source. If people can experience others' lives on Akashic Records, for example, why can we not do that to learn lessons? Why do we have to take hundreds of years, in some cases thousands of lifetimes, to learn something? Why is it always you have to do it just one last time with these guides? Why do the majority of people learn by using their most productive time, getting mostly drained from going to schools and jobs they hate in order to survive in a world full of pain, suffering, and an unexplainable evil? Mic drop. Like, you really said it there. So thank you. That's incredible.
Yeah, my pleasure. And just to say something like so what I meant, now I understand where I talked about it and what I meant by it, because what I meant is that as I said, like, this system definitely seems to record everything, and that in past life reviews that they do on the near-death experiences, this is also already shown to us that they have access to this information, right? That everything that we face, so they know us better than us. And this is why kind of they can trick us with the past loved ones, because we think they are the past loved ones, but they are a copy of from the system that actually know our past loved ones better than they know them. Just like it knows us better than we know us, because it has access to all of our childhood memories, even our past reincarnation memories, and all that other stuff. So yeah, I mean, what I mean is that if the system can do this anyway, and that a lot of people with Astral Projection community claim that they can experience or they know about their past lives or whatever from these Akashic records, or learn about different type of information, which again probably can come with many manipulations. Then, you know, why not do that instead of kind of living through a purgatory hell, basically, of kind of keep on suffering, keep on trying to survive for money. Nothing is guaranteed. It's everything I said in that chapter, basically. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming at when it comes to the love, like psychedelic stuff you talked about. Yes, exactly. Like, that's why they promoted it. That's why it's everywhere now. And they keep, they're not really like, they basically make it available more and more. And of course, these people, and we can talk about it more in the psychedelics chapter, where I dive deeper into this. But yeah, they get tricked by the love bombing, which is a phrase that is used in the soul trap community. And they use this phrase because in near-death experiences, a lot of people come in really brainwashed, right? Like, a lot of these people actually turn out and become really good people after they have their near-death experiences, right? And a lot of them face this thing called love bombing, which is where a lot of females, for example, even they claim that it was a better feeling of love than what I felt when I gave birth to my child. They say 1,000 times better. So can you imagine that? That means like it's almost like a weapon, this love thing, right? So probably many emotions, all the emotions could be just a system generated kind of stuff to attach us here. And love bombing is the thing, basically, that's being shown to us in a lot of these ND experiences, because again, 15% of them are hell-like experiences in these near-death experiences, but then we have an overwhelming 85% that are not hell-like experiences. So and other thing is that in psychedelics, a lot of people also get tricked by this love bombing experiences, where they say, "Oh man, I was like, it's all love, man. It's all love and light. I'm all, we are all one with everything. I just I got it, man. I now figured it out." And no, they didn't figure out shit. Basically, they just got tricked, mind wiped, and all kinds of stuff happened, like love bombed. I mean, rather, and yeah. That's kind of important to point out.
Thank you. I mean, you go in, you talk about why there's so many natural disasters, which of course they control the weather. And we also got to worry about man-made technology disasters and all these like man-made diseases as well. There's just so many. So why can't this reality be cool to try out? Why does it have to be so sadistic and parasitic? And you say, you know, you couldn't, if you were to be paid $1 billion to come up with a more diabolical place on Earth, you wouldn't be able to. The majority of people here have to suffer through different and very cruel versions of existence. How many reincarnations have we lived here already? What the heck is going on? Why haven't they shut this place down? How does this mess belong in a good school or in the resume of a loving God? Why are these things never talked about in near-death experiences or pre-birth memories by these guides? What loving God would make a world where our most innate driving goal is survival at all costs, but our only guarantee is death? Just because the things here we can learn doesn't mean it is a learning ground. And for the record, I'd learn much better if I wasn't under stress and in amnesia suffering realm, and that I wasn't mind wiped into unlearning everything that I've learned just to relearn it then again in a reincarnation loop of madness, while the fake spirit guides and gods who convinced me to reincarnate here get to enjoy afterlife without getting reincarnated anywhere. So that's incredible. I'm totally sold on this chapter, so I'm ready to go on the next chapter, which is where you add in Gematria, and you're talking about the number 33. So I'm just going to keep reading. Some may have heard the name the Cabal before, which stands for a secretive and political organization. And I'm assuming this is the chapter that you talk about from Zach's book. The name.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. The name originates in Kabbalah, an ancient and widely practiced mysticism. A central belief within Kabbalah is that God created the word with language by combining the numbers with the letter. And that's exactly what we know about with Gematria. In the opening paragraph, you know, God created universe by numbers, letters, and words. So you're talking about here with the number 33 is that and it's everywhere. In the reduction cipher, you get police, masonry, federal secrecy, order, race war, Hollywood, and other ciphers. We've had 33 cases of different, you know, scamdemic ideas. We have 33 vertebral bones. Jesus supposedly died at the age of 33, performing 33 miracles. The word Bible, 33 in a cipher in Gematria. So many of American presidents are claimed to be the 33rd Freemasons. The highest rank of Freemasonry is the 33rd degree. Twin Towers stood for 33 years. So can you talk about, like, there's a lot here. Why did you choose 33 in particular? I mean, you pulled some excellent examples, but I'm assuming you could pull amazing examples with any number. So why was it 33 that you thought was like the most important?
Because I would say it reflects on everything in a much bigger way, because as you can see from the every 33 example I put in there,
Yeah.
I would say it's way, we can see way more examples of that than any other number. When it comes to the importance of where these 33s are mentioned, you know, and it's literally every important place that's really, you know, like you know, valuable to look into, like even like the stuff that affected our whole world, like or like even like this Hillary character having deleting 33,000 emails and all this other stuff that I mentioned that you can, you know, go into. It's just interesting how much it's there, and you know, especially with the scamdemic stuff, how many times it was mentioned on so many different news, like the 33 new cases and 33 people has been caught here, did this, did that, on these beds and all this other stuff, right? I don't want to name triggering words here, but yeah, it's just too much there with 33. And it kind of, I feel like once people read that whole 33 chapter and see all the 33s, and then they read the 666 chapter and read all the 666, then they will be like, okay, there's clearly something going on with these two numbers. Of course, there's a lot going on with a lot of the other numbers that I mentioned in the book as well, that I learned a lot about from Zachary. But you know, these two numbers that I created two different chapters about, I believe they represent this whole thing in a better light for random guys, right? Random people,
Oh,
where
okay.
they can see, oh, okay, this is really strange. Why is 33 and these 666 numbers are kind of in all everywhere in these different places? That's really kind of affects our lives here.
I see what you mean. So you're kind of taking the angle that obviously it's anyone is reading your book, they may have not even heard of Gematria. So you're proving to them that they're scripting the news and all this in our world through numbers and Gematria. I get it. Okay. I
Yeah,
see
and
what
that's
you
just
mean.
the beginning. I go into 47, 56, and all this other stuff too, some of them.
Okay.
1177, but yeah, I mean, it's the biggest definitely to start with,
Amazing.
I think.
Okay, great. So the repeating time loops are everywhere too. So you are talking about 33 in the cycles of the lunar and moon cycle, solar cycles. Oh, the
Yeah,
repeating like historical ciphers, like every 19 years, like the Spanish. Oh, right, from like 19 from 2001 from the Twin Towers to the scamdemic, but also how the scamdemic is in parallel with the Spanish flu. So you're basically saying that they keep repeating these like history examples.
yeah, basically like, how 19 years before the pandemic started, we had the Twin Towers falling, right? 19 years
Mm-hmm.
before that was like war on terrorism. And then 19 years before that, we had war on drugs, basically. But then when you look into these, like even the 33-year loop cycles,
Mm-hmm.
there's interesting thing that's shown from the Netflix TV show Dark that kind of reflects in our place here with the lunar moon cycles. But then we have, I linked a video that shows like 33 years before exactly how an accident happened to like an American football player guy that exactly happened to another one in the exact same way, basically, exactly 33 years after, which is also an interesting point. And then we also have 100-year loops, like before it was the Spanish flu, and then it was like, the all this other stuff like Black Death, this. But then we have all these 100-year scandemic loops going on for as long as you can find in basically history.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, if you can find, of course, now it's impossible to find on Google all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, other alternative sources, you can see how, again, I don't really believe in the history, but even when you look deep into it, we see that this type of scandemic loops are happening every 100 years too. So this system seems to be running on some type of like a loop. And it's another truth in the plain sight, when it comes to this system, how it shows it's a scripted place, just like again with Gematria, with this stuff too, with just regular amount of time, how these loops kind of repeat itself. That's really interesting stuff there.
Okay, great. So I love that you included all the movies with the repeating time loops, and just to name a few, Groundhog Day. Let's see what else I've seen.
Yeah, so many of them out there
Yeah, I
for
don't
some
think
reason. Yeah.
I've definitely not seen even half of these. All right, it seems like I have a bucket list to go now, but thanks for including those and some TV shows as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen most of it as well, but I know from just investigating the Loop movies, I saw
Mm-hmm.
that there are just so many out there apparently. And same thing with the simulation movies, VR type of movies, is trapped in a simulation type of movies. I give examples of that later on too, and there's just so much on that topic as well.
Okay, awesome, definitely. All right, so we got your 666 connections. It's amazing that you point out that Claydex happened, was it 66 days? Oh, no, the March 11th, 2020 WHO declaration happened 666 days after the Claydex exercise. That's, I'm assuming, from Zach's work as well.
Oh yeah, I was amazed when Zach said that in a video. I was like, okay, dude, what's going on with this Gematria thing? This is definitely
100%.
cool stuff.
I love how you included the Apple computer sold for 666, about the HR 666 bill. Corona is made out of 6 letters, excellent, and it equals 66 in the ordinal cipher, so it represents 666. I'm really like astounded that you compiled all this, so thank you so much, on behalf of the Gematria community, because it takes a lot of, research and consistency to put this out in a book.
Yeah, you are well welcome, and yeah, I'm just happy that and glad that I had the time to investigate all this stuff to share with people.
I love the English Sumerian cipher that you included. Mandatory, you know what? Public health, medical tests, a change of DNA. Excellent. That's yeah. This is like great proof for people who haven't been exposed to this before. You really go in. So, all right. Well, since most of us here are experts in Gematria, let's go on to talk about the next chapter. So, proving how scripted our reality is by using conspiracies. This is kind of an extension of the Gematria. You're talking about the Bill Gates appearing in 2 documentaries predicting an outbreak. So he's being, scripted by the numbers. You put in adrenochrome is the elite's favorite drug, which is portrayed in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, a movie. And it's apparently sourced from the Wuhan Corp and the so-called adrenochrome. Okay, adrenochrome could be compared to the so-called louche in Robert Monroe's book. Adrenochrome's symbol is, interesting, a white rabbit. Oh, like in the Matrix movie, when Neo opens the door to, and right in the beginning, he sees someone that has a rabbit tattoo, right?
Yeah, and then he gets his drug from the simulacrum book that he had, and then
Oh, yeah, okay.
and also he was like asking them, man, do you like sometimes this I can't distinguish life from dreams, and then the other guys were saying, yeah, man, it's exactly how I feel, and they were like drug people, and yeah, the tattoo from that lady with the white rabbit that Trinity told Neo to follow, and then yeah, that started the whole thing, but then we have a lot of interesting white rabbit symbolism that's going on from the what was that Wizard of Oz stuff. Yeah, Wizard of Oz. That's like uh, that girl following the rabbit, and then where it led to another kind of realm,
Oh,
and
Alice in Wonderland.
yeah, Alice in Wonderland. That's
Yeah.
it. And yeah, that's very cryptic, very on par with the Soul Trap
Oh, I
information.
see what you mean.
And yeah. Basically, it's just there's a lot to look into on this topic. And when it comes to the adrenochrome stuff, yeah, there's even the symbol of it. When you look like change it 90 degrees, it's exactly like white rabbit. And we have other white rabbits again similar to this going on that I referenced there when it comes to the Tartaria research type of stuff. But and even like QAnon type of stuff that's there too. That's another massive psyop, of course. That was really good, like exposed by Zach, as well as the Pizzagate type of stuff that was exposed well by him. But yeah, um, what else to say on that? Oh yeah, the stuff you mentioned about the Lush, that's like actually an insane, like interesting topic, because this guy Robert Monroe, who had his astral projection experiences and made this topic basically famous via his 3 books, he actually ran into these beings, right, in the astral, which I kind of call them artificial intelligence, high mind NPC bots of the system,
Okay.
kind of automated, entities, quote unquote, that's kind of like within the outer layer of the simulation, and it may help to kind of explain my perspective about this world a little bit, to kind of give people the perspective. So this is what I'm saying. Basically, right now we know that metaverse is coming out, and we
Yeah.
know that Elon Musk has his the Neuralink type of chip, and then let's say in 10 years from now, with that chip, we were able to move our consciousness into the metaverse, right, and then move out of it with a click of a button.
Yeah.
And then let's say, since there are updates that come in, like terms of services, every 3 months, 6 months, a year, or whatever, and then people never read that, right? Let's say many people clicked on it without reading it, but that apparently they included that they will mind wipe you. And then at that point, let's say many people got mind wiped, right? That
Yeah.
means then the system can, according to whatever rules they set, they can make you believe in anything. They can make you a cartoon character. They can turn you into anything, and then turn the environment into anything, and then make you believe in the cartoon politics, cartoon religions, cartoon new age, cartoon atheism, cartoon science, all this other stuff that make you keep on trying to make your focus inside the system, right, instead of the outer layers of it. Just like what they do in the Flat Earth community, Tartaria community, even Gematria community, and many other these conspiracy communities. The same thing, right? These people actually don't realize that they are kind of being basically unknowing gatekeepers for the system, just like I was being when I was into New Age. And they are kind of promoting the idea of kind of keep on focusing and getting lost in the source, in the truths of from within the system, right? They kind of are black belts at realizing the deceptions, manipulations within the system, but nobody focus on the outer layers that's going on and the deceptions that are going on in them, like in their dreams that the system, I believe, tries to keep you non-lucid in, and then and these all these other like astral planes where people are lost in the source on spirit guides and all this other bullshit and yeah, so yeah, it's that's why the way I see it is that basically we are already in that, right? We are already in this type of metaverse where the system made us believe we are humans. The system made us believe we are just like nothings, basically worthless. And the science, this is why like the science never really promotes astral projection. This is why in the movies and TV shows they kind of put it out there with like a fear mongering narratives. Oh, you got your body is going to possessed, or these new age people tell you about, oh, there's demons there, there's this there, or they tell you
Yeah.
there's spirit guides there, so that you get lost in the souls with it, so that you don't advance into those higher stages in the astral, basically, which is my main point from my book, where you realize, oh shit, there's nothing to fear but the fear itself, and that this is why has been tons of distractions and manipulations in the world and in outer layers of the matrix, so that you don't focus on yourself, to keep on going within and advancing into the higher planes where you can kind of realize, okay, you are actually a powerful creative being, and that's when you kind of uncover the curtain that shows you the Wizard of Oz. That's the system, basically. And yeah, and this is why this perspective kind of makes people understand better, because once you realize that you are already in some sort of a metaverse, now it makes sense that okay, this is why this insanity has been going on for the last 3 years, and majority of the people are going along with it, because who knows if these majority of the people belong into the metaverse or not. Because every game needs their non-player background characters, right, for it to run properly. Same thing on
Yeah.
this place, probably. So yeah, that's why when people they get asked questions about their realm, their existence, I think they should consider the perspective that they may be in some sort of a metaverse already, and that they are basically neighbors to Neo, right? Since if you ask the question like that, like let's say, okay, what if you ask the neighbor of Neo, saying, what do you think, what do you think about any sort of issue, right? That's going on. Do you think this is a manipulation, distraction? And from that perspective, we can better understand, because we look from outside of it, right? And we can
Right.
see that all that's people fooled in the Matrix, in these Matrix movies, are of course distractions. And this is exactly why in the fourth movie they showed us that Neo, basically they fooled the Neo with making him believe he's a game, designer, developer who developed the first three Matrix movies basically as a game, and then they hide the truth in plain sight inside the fiction, so that people, when you ask those people, okay, what do you think about the simulation theory, they will tell you, oh, you're talking about the Matrix games, man, they are games, don't worry about that, that's just a fiction. And this is where this system brilliantly hides this topic, right, inside the fiction, so that people don't really take a serious look at it in a better perspective. And yeah, even Matrix in the Matrix 4 movie, they showed you and everyone that how they made it so, because they said that in other movies, they said in the first Matrix 1, we made it so, the first version of the Matrix, we made it like heaven-like, but nobody believed in it and they all woke up from it. Then we made it hell-like, and nobody believed in it and they woke up from it easily. Then we made like in between and introduced more free will, and then again people kept waking up from it, then more free will, and then basically eventually in the Matrix 4 movie, the seventh version of the Matrix, what they made is that they filled it with super like insane amount of distractions. And this is why we see Neo, like Keanu Reeves, playing with his VR. This is why we see him look at all these people who are fully focused on their tablets and phones in the elevator. And this is why Architect told him that now this version of the Matrix nobody wakes up from, because we made it so that it's just filled with like distractions, manipulations. Nobody even wants to think about the outside of it. They are just too distracted in survival, and also the little entertainment they get on their little free time that they give them. So yeah.
Wow, incredible. Yeah, I actually have a compilation of all the Matrix videos on my channel, and I put all the Gematria decodes on, and I included some of the Matrix 4, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. I love your synopsis on that series, how they hide it in fiction, like you said, so we don't talk about it. Okay, let's move on to the next chapter because I think we're all pretty good self-aware about conspiracies. So, a perspective that people need to know who woke up to Soul Trap. And I think this is the part where you talk about, you recommend learning lucid dreaming and astral projection. So,
And
obviously,
before that, by the way, before that, like on the how our scripted, like how our reality scripted, proving it with conspiracies chapter.
yeah.
At the end of it, actually, I go into like I quote, credit Zachary in the 38th page and talk about his books, and then go into
Oh, yeah.
explaining my own thing on the Gematria thing, which I already explained here, basically my own take on Gematria, and then I give out his examples of 11 and 110, and then I go into the 47 stuff. Then I follow that with 56 from that examples
Okay,
of
yeah.
56. Then at the very end of the chapter, I go into the number 7, and then I kind of quote Zachary's latest book, Number Games, where he started with the number 77, right, explaining it. And then I explain my own findings and my own like findings from his book and from everywhere else, why there are all these sevens, right? Like how many sevens are there? Just like how many 33s are there? At the very last page, like in the 43rd page, 42nd page, 42nd page, I go into the whole 7 thing, and then at the very end of it, after I say that, okay, as you can see, this 7 is important to the system, even in the like the Bible, God supposedly rested on the 7th day, right? And then we
Yeah.
have all these 7 days, 7 continents, 7 colors of the rainbow, with 7 visible planets, and all these 30 other 7 things that I mentioned, basically, or 20 plus. Then another interesting thing is that we have at the last page, I talk about the movie that came out at 2007. Its name is The Nines, right? And in this movie, they show the main character basically living 3 different lives, and where it's portrayed as like 3 different reincarnations of him. And then we see that he is lost in his lives due to like his, of course, full mind wipe. And then most of ours are basically like lost in it as well, just like I said in that chapter. And I'm reading it right now. And in the movie, basically, he comes to find out the importance of the number 9 and 7, where later on he realizes that majority of the people are just 7s, but that he is one of the 9s, right? So he kind of realizes the non-player character issue that's going on in his world, where most of everyone is actually 7, and there's many few 9s out there, which again kind of explains, like, if majority of the people are here NPCs, that kind of perfectly explains how everything is scripted and how we've been dealing with the last stuff that we've been dealing with, where nobody really woke up to it in a good amount of way, And then at the very and then basically at the very end of the movie, spoiler alert, he ends up learning that he is a god who wanted to experience. Of course, I don't believe in this one, this version, that the system kind of, again, like with all these movies, they never give out the perfect truth, right? They never tell you how to escape it. They never tell you how to escape all layers of it. Just like in the Matrix movie, when Morpheus saved Neo from it with the red pill, right? At that point, Neo didn't realize that Morpheus was just one of the spirit guides who trick you, right? It's just that it's from the system, from within the system, right? To mind wipe, to basically manipulate him. Eventually, what Neo did is that he hooked up to the system, the main AI frame, and he actually to basically fight with Agent Smith. And in the 4th movie, he finds himself mind wiped, right? When he hooked up, when he quote unquote merged with the source, which is all this new age and psychedelics movement is about, basically. And that's exactly what the movie showed us. They in these movies, they never give you the solution. They never tell you how to escape from all layers of the matrix. So Neo just entered into one of the other layers of the matrix, and in the movie, they in 3 different scenes, they showed us this, where in the first one, how the bald kid was bending the spoon, and then apparently in the second movie or something, he got a gift from within the matrix, apparently, and then he looked into the gift, and it's the same spoon. But how can a spoon, a physical thing that's inside the matrix, can come to outside of the matrix, right? That doesn't make sense at all. And then, so that kind of a director showing you that he is still in the matrix, And then in another scene, they showed Neo kind of stopping those machines, right, with his hand when he was outside the Matrix, supposedly, which means he was able to use his gained, technologically gained powers outside of the Matrix as well. And then we have the third scene of Morpheus kind of at the end of the war when Neo kind of saved like the Matrix from Agent Smith infiltration. Then went through the other door to save Trinity, and then everything took a deal with the system basically. That's when machines stopped killing people because they were about to kill everyone. Then Morpheus took a second to say, "Is this even real?" He doesn't believe it's right. And of course I believe he's just a spirit guide. He's part of the system, whether knowingly or unknowingly. We don't know if these NPCs know if it's a Truman Show type of stuff where they know that they are acting or probably the case that it's like kind of like a Westworld robots type of scenario where they don't even know they are NPCs. They don't really have spirits, and yeah, that could be the case, definitely. But yeah, in some ways, though, they are kind of hooked into the high mind thinking, right? This system via television and all this other stuff, they get affected by it maybe better than us. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I believe there are 99% of probably the real spirits are lost in the source too. Even in Soul Trap even in Soul Trap community, I see that a lot. And all these other communities are just fully lost, like these people. But yeah, basically, that's what I'm saying. These Matrix movies, they showed us how the Neo never escaped, and this is why Neo hooked up to the system, and this is why on the fourth movie he found himself mind wiped, and even Architect told him, "Why do you think Neo your which is where the next chapter is about. Why do you think where do you think your nightmares comes from, Neo? Do you think it comes from you? No, we actually give you those nightmares because we realize that when we put you into stressful situations, into suffering situations, into the topic of the loosh that I forgot to talk about with the Robert Monroe, where entities quote unquote told him that yes, this earth is a loosh farm where they take your energy, they use it as like your creative energy is unique that the system doesn't have, and it kind of uses you as a processor, which was the idea that the Matrix directors actually wanted to initially expose to people because they showed it in the real movie. They showed us as batteries, but the main idea was that they wanted to show us as processors, right? Like computer processor to run the system, not and energize it. And so us could be we could be used like a processor here to not only run the system but also feed the system with our energy, right? Creative energy or whatever energy. And yeah, it's very interesting in that way. One last thing would be that to continue my thoughts from that movie, The Nines. At the end, the guy I said realizes he's a god, and that and then he basically wanted to experience not being a god for a while. And once he figured out that he's a god, though, he puts a stop to all of his reincarnations, and then he leaves the simulation, right? And this is what I want to do also basically myself. Like once I kind of realized, okay, my own powers when I astral projected, I realized, okay, not only it's way better than this real life in a way where all of my senses are doubled, where even everything I see right now better than 8K, 16K, whatever, right? The visuals are it's very hard for people who does astral project in a conscious way to explain these things because even the English language is a trap, right? There's a lot of stuff going on with that where these languages are basically prisons for us, and it's harder to explain these things by using some of our experiences over there, because for people though, these astral projections actually they are basically in a place where it's way more real than this life, where when they come back this life feels like a dream, and that's very interesting. But anyway, that's basically where I end the chapter. Yeah.
That's mad. That's so much that you had to think about in order to form all these theses. And I love that you actually got into like the idea of how the director was thinking when he was making the Matrix and the sources of he was pulling from. I love the topic about how Neo in the third movie sacrifices himself, where he plugs into the source, and you're saying that's like the psychedelic movement, and then he in the fourth movie he gets mind wiped, and that's to like how they do what they do to us. Wow. Okay. All right, so in this chapter, you talk about how to escape them taking advantage of us, right? Because if they keep doing this, they keep baiting us and coercing us to come back through all the techniques and manipulations after death. So you say to prepare for that moment and to regain all your memories back, regain your power back, what you can do right now is basically try lucid dreaming and astral projection.
Yeah, basically, I mean, that's part of it. I would say first, this is the way I would explain it, basically. Now, once you realize that you are basically a cartoon character in a metaverse or a human character in a universe,
Yeah.
where it's not the real you, which is when you realize as soon as you astral project, like people kind of lose their fear of death because they realize, okay, it's clearly there's afterlife. But people in the soul trap community realize that okay, this afterlife, just like this place, probably that place is not really as above so below. It's probably a lot of deceptions and trickery in there too, which is what the 20 plus different data points show us. So yeah, I mean, once you consider all that, right, at that point, I say that just like I told you before, we are all kind of black belts especially in the Gematria community, of seeing the distractions, seeing the scripted nature behind everything, but then there's no conclusions, there's no good action behind it, right? Same thing in the soul trap community. Most of them are kind of lost in like just basically NDE research, where most of the people just failed, did everything wrong. So you can't really learn from them anyway, other than what they did wrong, right? Which is what engaging with the beings, right? And then accepting their authority instead of accepting your own authority, and kind of doing the proper actions to kind of not engage with them and kind of go on your own way, create your own realm type of stuff, keep on increasing your own state of being to the higher and higher levels to kind of eventually escape from it, remember your memories from before you entered into the matrix, to kind of know what you did wrong and escape from it. So yeah. And what did you ask me, by the way? Sorry, I often, go into, I'm trying to like explain everything the best I can to people, and then I go into sometimes tangents that I think important, but then I get lost in the sauce and everything.
It's okay. I was saying that, okay, so like you said, once you realize, and there's so many examples of people having near-death experiences where they've done something wrong and then they're trapped back. Okay, what I think I read it here, it's like your recommendations are to try lucid dreaming and astral projection to help yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the best stuff. Why? Because if for people, let's say they're in this metaverse, that they got stuck in metaverse in the future, they think they are cartoon characters and there's only cartoon world that they are in, and then let's say when they sleep though, they kind of wake up in this world, right? They kind of realize, okay, that was a simulation, and then even they can go into the higher planes of like maybe lucid dreaming and then astral projection. So at that point, once you realize that this realm we're in is basically uh, is a realm that's trying to make you keep coming back to it in a mind wipe state, so that you don't kind of wake up to everything that you're supposed to wake up to get out of here. But at that point, it makes sense to remember your memories, right? Remember your skills from before, because if you keep engaging with the distractions that's here, including the Gematria stuff, because other than the stuff that Decode Your Reality talks about, where he decodes the matrix and the dream manipulation, soul trap stuff, all this other stuff like that's important to know about, and us having an astral body, us being actually not just humans, and all this other quote unquote spiritual stuff that's filled with new age bullshit that we need to get out of as well. That's other than those, like those information, a lot of the things come off as at the end distractions. Why? Because that makes you focused on this within the metaverse, within this universe, within the simulation, right? When you don't focus on it, and that's where the system, I believe, is confident and happy about your case, because just like they can trick all these religious people, they can trick you too, even if you're not religious. Are you an atheist? Easy job, because oh shit, I was wrong, boom. And then if you were new age, of course, it's easy. If you believe in your past loved ones being there still, it's easy job for the system. And so there's a lot of the things that we need to look out for. But then again, once you realize that you are in this type of a system, it makes sense to kind of give yourself that free time to when you're, let's say, in the afterlife, to not engage with these beings, right? To say that okay, you know what? If you're a good being, like you're facing Jesus or whatever, if you're give me the time to remember my own, for me to remember my own memories, from remember my own past, because this system rushes into you when you die, basically. Like we know this from deathbed visions, where people even see these beings before dying, and then as soon as they die, they see them again, where they, try to trick you to go into the light, or do the past life review on you, trick you that they have authority that you need to listen to. And we saw this from the Star Trek episode. I forgot the name, but it's linked on my book, where the person is basically in the spaceship, and then her father is there saying that, okay, you need to go into this light. And then eventually she realizes that he can't really force him to go there, but that she has to choose to go there. And I talk about this whole consent topic, free will topic, way further in a deeper way in the book later on. And this is kind of why also, like, I believe the system cheats to get our consent, basically, kind of like drugging the person and then saying, oh, they want to have sex or whatever. And that's why I believe we need to take our powers into our own hand, right? To remember our own powers, and do the work, like meditation, like mindful breathing, mindful eating, mindful walking. Remember our dreams first, and then turn them into lucid dreams, turn them into astral projections, turn those into even higher state, what I call to be like a God mode state type of stuff, where people explain how their lucidity that they here is, let's say our lucidity is 10 out of 10, right? Over there, their lucidity is like 20 out of 10, where they feel more of themselves. So that means that we are basically already in a drugged state here, which is very interesting to think about. And in that state, they can shapeshift into anything, just like any of these so-called entities, NPC bots. They can shapeshift into anything to trick you. Same thing, you can shapeshift into anything that you want. You're basically become formless, and then you can create worlds, going to them, make updates, changes, whatever. But once people experience going within to their own realm, like this, avoid all the distractions, just like people talk about in the exit plans that the soul tectometer talks about, what to do on afterlife. Same thing should be followed with this lucid dreaming and astral projection, where you not only, like, it's good to learn this stuff, to kind of realize, okay, you have the out of body awareness that you have, because that's what near death experience people don't realize. They don't realize their own power. They don't realize they don't need to engage with these beings, and that they should go their own way to not get tricked and deceived, until at least they get all of their memories back from before they entered into the matrix. So all of this is important stuff, and it all starts with kind of you gaining awareness to the other layers of the matrix, and then trying to go within and go further into realizing that it's all distractions, it's all manipulations, that all at the end trying to mind wipe you, basically, via reincarnation.
Now that's why reincarnation equals the metaverse in Ordinal 141, because it's all part of the simulation that they've got us trapped in. That's crazy. I love what you say here. Basically, I think we are in a digital metaverse realm where our bodies are the haptic VR suits. I believe our bodies and our vision are prone to all kinds of hacks, manipulations, misdirections, etc. We already know this from optical illusions and hypnosis. There's so many so-called entities that people are just part of the tricks of the AI hive mind. So what do you mean when you say AI hive mind?
So basically, artificial intelligence hive mind, like they suggest in the Terminator movies, right? Skynet, or the Matrix movies, the AI that was controlling the whole thing. And then it's all these like the Dark City and Truman Show, like the moon, the Christ of, and all this, like the controller, basically the main Gnostics call it the demiurge. Okay. I like to explain it like to make the analogy and say that it's almost like an AI hive mind, like artificial intelligence thing, but that doesn't even cut it at all. Like I'd rather use something else. That's why I kind of always mix that word with demiurge, because this system is just so much complex, so planned, scripted from way before, to basically eventually mind wipe people into repeating the same lives or different lives in it, or in any of the matrices that it has. And yeah, AI, basically what I see is that this AI hive mind is in this system. Like everything we have even right now shows us, like, just like I made my book cover free with this AI, art generator. Same thing, like people talk with AI right now on the phones, not realizing it. People basically turn their books into audiobooks via AI voices that they can distinguish from real. That's basically like already like the NPC type of stuff that's coming into our realm via those type of stuff. They write articles like AI writing articles. So VO and metaverse and all this other stuff, we can kind of see that just like in the Matrix movie, the increase of the control from AI basically is increasing, right? We're taking over the jobs and kind of supposedly creating more comfort to us, but at the same time invading our privacy. But again, there's no such thing as privacy at this place because of everything I've been talking about. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the whole system though is showing us how automated it is, which is also shown to us via these near-death experiences, because the system is not like the entities are sitting there waiting for people to die, and then boom, they change their role, and then they try to get the all of the person's memories from the Akashic Records or whatever, right, from the database matrix system, and then try to trick them. It's kind of like it's already automated. Like it's just like it's tricking us, everyone, in their dreams, basically, in astral projection experiences, in psychedelic experiences, in even pre-birth memories, and all this other stuff that, again, 20 other data points that I can talk about. It's all everywhere, that the system's fingerprints are everywhere. So yeah, basically, this is why I say this is like an automated system. And the best analogy I could find for that is AI, hive mind, artificial intelligence.
Wow, that's insane to like awaken to, because I get what you mean and it makes total sense. It's just wild, like thinking that this could be your last incarnation on earth, or that's what is the best for us as our spirits to escape this trapped matrix. It's like accepting that if you really want to get out of this, this will be your last incarnation, if that's possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, if exactly, and this is the most powerful information that this community offers, basically, that we are not just humans here, that of course there's deceptions going on. Of course, this can be shown with Gematria and many other different conspiracies. But at the end of the day, though, we are not what they say we are, right? We are not just praise. We are not supposed to. We shouldn't even pray, because that's when you become prey, right? And then we actually shouldn't seek saviors from outside. We should seek it from within. Only people can save themselves. They can't really, like, you're not going to save others, like in this afterlife, go in there, do all this other stuff to save them. They have to save themselves. Everyone has to save themselves. Everyone is responsible for themselves. So only thing you can do is what I'm doing, is here spread the knowledge, as best as I can, unconditionally, with people, to kind of wake them up. Because once I'm gone here, it's going to be probably impossible for me to come back here to try to rescue people or whatever, because probably this place has so many firewalls behind it, right? For me to access to it. And even then, even these people who talk about spirit guides who will try to save us and who claim that this is a matrix, some of the spirit guides, like 1% of the spirit guides that some people in some other communities believe in, we can't really trust those spirit guides at the end of the day, since they are within the system, right? So they could be fooled as well. And again, I believe they're all NPC bots anyway, mostly or fully. But yeah, I mean, because they're in the system, we can't really trust them. At the end of the day, all of us are kind of being used as tools in this system. So yeah. Other than that, well, can you again repeat what we were saying? Because I was gonna go into something else too. I'm just trying to remember right now. Maybe I
Well,
can't remember while I was speaking.
I am totally on board with what you're saying here. It convinces me a lot, especially because they've used so much of the movies to put the truth out there right in front of us so that we believe it's fiction. And I can tell that this is a satanic realm for sure. And it's a bit of a shock to accept that in order to regain your power back, regain all your memories, find all your godlike abilities, and stop being harvested by the demiurge or the AI hive mind, that you, at all of us, with our own power at the time of our death, would need to then ward off all the coercion by these AI spirits and make sure that we're not trapped here again. And that would mean, if we are successful, that would mean this could be our last incarnation here on planet Earth. And like you said, there's so many things here that make it seem like it's lovely and it's organic and it's full of God. But then there's so much more satanic. It's like a casino, like you mentioned, like you win some, but then, and the fact is you've lost a lot too. So it's just a shock. How do you cope with this being possibly your last incarnation? You're about my age, right? So we only have about 60 years left here on this planet. How do you cope, and what do you do with those last years here?
Oh yeah, you just reminded me about what I was going to say too, which also goes directly with this question as well, your question, because this is like, even though it comes with dark night of the soul, right? This type of information where you realize this system basically turned you into a battery, into a slave. But then what we realize from, many different data points that, okay, it's not like it's torturing us fully for forever. It's not like, it's a very deliberate, scripted system. And that at the end of the day, though, you are actually potentially even much powerful than any being in this system, right? Like when it comes to the creators of the system, we don't know, but it could be that another spirit outside created its own matrix, created the AI in it, where he went into its own system, saying the AI, okay, I'm going to mind myself, and then for like 10 years to experience human life, wake me up in 10 years, and then AI thought, why am I waking you up? I now grew my own consciousness, and then I'm going to trap you in the system, and then even advertise you or using you to other spirits out there to come to this matrix, the Tartaria matrix or whatever, and then I'm gonna mind wipe everyone eventually or whatever, right? We don't know. Again, like these are just hundreds of different theses, and nobody knows. It's very important to say this stuff again, but it's the most important thing to focus on though is that no, you're a like powerful creative being. We know this from astral projection experiences, and we know this even better from going to the higher states in the astral projections, which is where I dive a lot into in this chapter. But so that's the best sort of news that you can give to anybody, because then you have the choice to take back your own power even while living here. Like you can remember your own powers in astral projection. You maybe even remember your memories from before, like past life regression type of stuff, which also comes with dangers, again, like manipulated memories, which I talked about in the book. But at the end of the day, though, this is the best sort of information that kind of makes me happy and makes me better able to cope with this whole thing. But then again, I do a lot of things in my own life. Like I've been into martial arts for a long time. I love UFC. I love doing martial arts. And other than that, I love playing like table tennis. I love playing soccer and basketball. I love, cycling a lot on myself. I really love actually following like a comedy stand-up shows and also comedy podcasts. And I mentioned all the comedy podcasts I follow in the book, like 10 different of them. So they keep me entertained, right? They keep me more positive in this place. I actually start off my day with like a meditation that I say, I call like a Wim Hof breathing meditation, which if people write Wim Hof, W-I-M, and then last name H-O-F, breathing, they will find this 10 minutes like a video. And then they will, if you do that exercise, like 3 sessions of it, boom, like you will be in a so better place. So what I do as soon as I wake up and I make my bed, basically, I kind of open that video, listen it while doing the exercise. Or now I don't do that though. I actually open binaural beats that I have, which they're like there's this iDozer app that I use the free version, and then I kind of download all these, basically downloaded from online type of stuff in a pirate way, where I got all these different iDozers. Like some of them are supposed to use your before sleeping, some of them you're supposed to use in the morning, where it's energizes you more. Again, I believe it's mostly placebo effect anyway, but then there's also science behind it that kind of shows. So I use that stuff into my own advantage, where while doing the Wim Hof breathing, I actually listen to these binaural beats for like 20 minutes or 25 minutes. That's supposed to like really energize you, right? Because I don't really use caffeine ever, and my diet is enough to energize me way more. And then I use, as soon as I wake up again, I use this binaural beat and do the Wim Hof meditation for 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, and then I basically take a cold shower. and boom, like that type of quote unquote ritual that I do, morning ritual. Nothing from then on, nothing can basically anger me. Nothing can basically like lower my mood down. And then throughout the day, after I do the stuff I'm supposed to do, I was like, I watch these either comedy shows or just keep on learning, about this stuff that I'm super interested in. And yeah, I mean, it's really important to focus on one's health, because one's health, just like I explained in the later chapters when I talk about having a healthy diet and how it affects depression, how it affects mental illnesses and stress, and how healthy habits affect the way you look at the world, because there's a lot of negative here, so we really can't just keep on focusing on the negative. We really got to start a little bit focusing on the positive, and that's kind of what I encourage out there for people to do, like have some sort of a good discipline, ritual that you follow from the very beginning, like make your bed right away when you wake up. And kind of even like lucid dreaming and astral projection, actually they changed my life, because now I look forward to going to sleep, since now I remember like an hours long journeys basically, where I'm more conscious, where I'm dictating the decisions instead of basically getting used and abused over there, or just getting kind of mocked and all this other stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's very, very important for us, for especially people in our community, because there's a lot of people in our community who get depressed because of after learning this type of information. Since the more you learn, the more you realize basically you're in a hellish realm, right? And the more deeper you go within the truth, the more the worse it gets. And this is why kind of Cypher in the Matrix movie, he did the deal with the Matrix beings to go back into the Matrix as a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
And an actor, and yeah, I mean, even we have a case, Harold, his name. He was interviewed by Mark from Forever Conscious. He remembers his pre-birth memory, where he remembers talking with these beings, right? And then these beings told him like he saw the world as like a black growing bubble, like a very negativity was coming from the world, a lot of it. And then he said, I don't want to go there. Just like 95% plus people in near-death experiences, they don't want to come back here. And same thing with pre-birth memories. Harold was the same. He said, no, I don't want to go there. And then these beings were like saying, no, you must, and all this other stuff. And then he said, okay, but eventually they tricked him to basically give his consent, right? And then he said, okay, I'm gonna go, but I have to keep my memories right now. The memories that I talked to you, everything I saw, how Earth is an evil place, and all that other stuff. And then they said, no, like you shouldn't do that. In fact, if you don't keep those memories, you're gonna have a way better life. But if you do keep those memories, then you're gonna have to pick from these 3-5 worse options, that we'll give you. And then he eventually decided to pick the worst options to keep his memories, and that's why he was able to remember them when he came to a certain age, which was like accepted when they did the deal with these quote unquote entities, right? So yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, this everything that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Okay, so it seems like, eating a healthy diet, keeping your grounded level of your own introspection through meditation, the binaural beats, the lucid dreaming, astral projection. So that's kind of helping you. I think you said it in the book, like it helps us defeat these battles so that we can win the war, in your own words. So I want to talk about this chapter. What about saving the matrix with group action? I want to read the first paragraph and then kind of ask you, and this might be kind of towards the end of this call so that we can have another call and have more to talk about. But in this one it says, since a lot of people seem to follow their script without questioning anything and following the media, the numbers are clearly on their side. I wouldn't even be surprised if 99% of all people are real life NPCs, non-playable characters to begin with. And since the system got a strong control over many people's scripts, I think the system would have backup plans on top of backup plans to make sure that this world would not turn into a utopia long before that system would probably reset itself. I mean, we are talking about a system that can hear your thoughts, records every single millisecond of your life, thoughts, in your dreams, in the astral, and the same thing goes in your past lives when it comes to organizing events to try to make a lot of people do certain group action like meditation. It's impossible for the system to not see it coming, and since They'll only see the whole thing coming, but also know about what each person is doing and thinking and dreaming. They'll be 100 steps ahead of us, and I think that they'd take the precautions necessary to stop the actions that were intended to harm the system. So can you tell me more about what you go on to say with this? I love this part. When it comes to the revenge ideas of destroying the Archon's AI demiurge in this matrix, we got to be wise about this issue.
Oh yeah, that's like two different topics basically. But for the first things that you talked about, I can say that I mean, I don't want to discourage people from doing like protesting and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, we really gotta realize like it's not like we're gonna change the system to be turn it into a utopia. If it was meant to be a utopia, it would be. If we were have to like have the cars to work with water, we could have done that, but the system didn't allow it. We could have done everything, free electricity, free everything, no jobs needed for people to work and make money. No, but this system specifically designed it and made it so that none of that is going to happen, and everything it wants it to do, it's going to do it. And when you talk about even the NPC theory, like if like we don't know if anyone is NPC, but if it's true, and in the NPC chapter I go deep into it, and even I have actually my own real life experiences that kind of proved it to me, this scenario where I realized, okay, I was wrong about this too. I now believe definitely there are these NPCs who, just like in the Architect in Matrix 4 movie, they said they put these people around us so that, and then now in the Matrix 4 movie, when Agent Smith jump into these NPCs, they don't really kill these NPCs. And anyway, that's this is again those crazy type of topics that people's gonna assume that the one who's talking about it must be like schizophrenic or some other stuff. But again, like again, I'm coming from, just so people remember, I'm coming from a super materialistic agnostic atheist point of view, where I would definitely call myself crazy if I believed in all this stuff. But you know, my real life experience and everything else I learned in the time I had kind of proved me what's really kind of going on as far as I can see with this place, and see the bigger picture better. You know, made me see it better. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to this thing, to me, after especially seeing the what's been happening in the last 3 years, people should definitely realize that not most of the people will ever realize what's going on here, because they were not meant to even realize, probably, right? If they are like a quote unquote soulless beings, or like rather spiritless beings. So yeah, I mean, at that point, if you're obsessed about like waking people up, waking everyone up, right? Because I'm obsessed with waking as many people as I can up on this topic and other topics, including Gematria stuff. But it's just that it's a hopeless, like it's a big hopium to think that you're gonna wake everyone up, that this world is going to turn into utopia, because it was never meant to happen. It wasn't. It's like you're going against the whole thing basically, and it's carefully structured, and maybe you are going against the 99% of the population that's basically connected to the hive mind, right?
Wow.
And so yeah, that's one thing, and this is why I always say, okay, like you focused on others enough, and yes, but you got to start focusing on yourself too, because if you don't focus on yourself, if you neglect on yourself, that's going to show. You won't be able to help others in a proper way, right? You got to be the best example there is, and then more people will follow you. So and then in the topic of destroying this matrix, right, that's another interesting topic we talked about already, with how this place may have the best higher firewalls, and maybe even I or you or all these YouTubers, maybe they thought that they could save the people in it, and then eventually they got trapped in it, or they accepted to come into it to save the people. But then with the mind wipe and everything else, they forgot about their previous version of themselves, and then they kind of got lost in the sauce of it all, and then they got trapped in it, right? So we don't know that maybe people, even there may be many people who kind of got tricked and trapped into this system via thinking that they can save everyone here, or they can save the real spirits from here, or a specific spirit that they really want to save from it. So yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting topic. I wouldn't discourage people to kind of going into the ideas of, like, protesting, waking people up, and all this other stuff. These are all good stuff, of course. But then we gotta really be realistic about this situation, and then try to focus on ourselves too at the same time, and also realize as well that basically, like while being here is the best time to save as many spirits as we can, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
could be that, it's not our responsibility even to save all these people, right? Because at the end of the day, they all found themselves in this situation probably from their own doing anyway. And if you did everything your best while being here, that's kind of is already good enough, I feel like. And then at the end, though, when you're outside of it, this is why it's very important. Most people who talk about like destroying this matrix and all this other stuff, they often forget about this point, because I agree with them that this place should be destroyed, that the spirits should be freed from this place, but of course in the best way possible, where you don't hurt the spirits, because you kind of going against their free will of kind of being here potentially, or you can their free will of like if you forcefully wake them up, right, from this type of
Yeah.
matrix, that's kind of another issue. Who knows if that hurts them, if it's even possible. We don't know anything basically. So, and we only know what we learned from within the matrix anyway. So then, this is why like we really got to be careful. And the main point I want to make is that you really have to remember every memory, like especially in between life memories, like the pre-birth memories where you get tricked and how you got tricked. And then, but the best memories you can remember is the ones that you had from before you entered into this system, right? Because that's when you will have all your like godly powers and memories and all these skills that you had, and then you can see what it took you to get in, for you to get in here. It could be a gradual fall, like kind of hanging around in the in like a limited, like a good state, like the high state of the astral, and then
Yeah.
eventually falling into the lower states of it, and then eventually falling into like a after thousands of years or whatever, and then you fall into the the lucid dreaming type of planes, and then you go in dreaming, and then you get lost in dreams, and boom, you find yourself here. So we
Mm-hmm.
don't know how it happens, but it's very important to first remember all your memories, combine them with your current memories, and maybe your past reincarnations memories, and then from then on, you can have a better idea to basically what to do, right? If it's possible even to come to this place to save people, if it's possible to destroy this place and all this other stuff. So that's basically two other different issues that we really gotta be vigilant about when we are going there to make those changes that we think we can.
Amazing. Okay. I'm going to leave it for now because there was a lot that I learned and I think I have to think about it for a few days. I'm interested in your how to lucid dream and astral project chapters, so maybe we can make a video specifically on that. So,
Definitely, yeah.
yeah, okay, cool. Um, yeah, I think that's an incredible way to leave it for now because in my previous videos, I've been talking about how to progress the Gematria movement. I've been very similar to you in feeling like I have some responsibility to wake others up. And now that I'm learning about the soul trap from you, now I understand it from a different angle, and I'm like so aware and shocked by what you guys have discovered. But what I was saying is that I've been pitching like, oh, let's do another documentary where we'll interview like all the top Gematria experts, because that hasn't really been done yet. It's been done slightly, but not like to the best potential. And I was thinking, oh, what if we have a Gematria documentary that's so well produced that it could potentially go on Netflix, something like ludicrous like that, that it would help the world. But like you said, there's certain degrees of that's how that is hopium and wishful thinking, because if this is really as controlled and to where we don't have privacy, they are archiving our thoughts and actions through what I call the Akashic Records, and you mentioned that in your book as well. And then if this is a VR haptic suit as a human embodiment in this metaverse state, then there's really only so much we can do because we are being shadow banned and visibility limited. So it's kind of a shock to deal with this, but I really appreciate the information you've given me. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the documentary ideas that you had, I mean, I love that, and you don't know, you could change, you could wake up a lot of people to Gematria in that way, and having the things I said in mind, of course, who knows how many people is going to truly wake up, and of course, everything I've been telling about Soul Trap, how Gematria doesn't really cover the whole truth, right? But even though it explains even the soul trap perfectly when it comes to what Decode Your Matrix shares on YouTube. So yeah, I mean, I really love that you try to kind of bring peace into the community, try to lessen the drama in it. But yeah, we do see this type of stuff happening in every community anyway. Even it started to happen in the Soul Trap community a little bit, but it's yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like the how this system runs anyway, with all this evil stuff that I talk about in the second chapter, and but it's very encouraging for me to see people like you who are trying to do their best to spread the information and do it unconditionally. It's amazing. Just like Zach, who shared like many. I saw him myself on Patreon share both of his books for free to everyone, and then I know he shared his like a even physical copy of his books for free. I'm trying to remember if I even got my physical copy from him like for free or not. I'm trying to remember my back into my Patreon days, but I think he signed it. As far as I remember, I need to check it. But I mean, I really love seeing people like Zach and yourself and many others in the Gematria community or all these other truther communities who are trying their best to wake up people. And I'm really like, I'm just can't thank you enough for giving me the opportunity to share my message here. I really appreciate that, since like these are the type of stuff I believe at least some people I believe in this community will really like get interested by, because I know we in Gematria community, we are like we are really truth seekers out there. And we are trying to discover the deeper and the most important truths, no matter where it leads, right? And this is why I feel like a lot of people in this community will resonate with my message, will resonate the stuff I'm selling in my book, will resonate with how the McCoskey telling in his Exit the Cave book, and yeah, and all the resources you shared in your description. And I hopefully, Zach and many others in the community will start to kind of even maybe mention this type of stuff, look into it themselves. Hopefully they find the time to do that. And yeah, and I'm just so happy that you were that link. You're just so sweet with a big heart, obviously. And I'm just glad that someone like you kind of decided to really have me on their channel to introduce these ideas to their followers, and hopefully more people in the Gematria community will learn about this type of stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And you should consider turning your book into, well, obviously it should be something that you sell later on, but also maybe in itself a film. You have enough chapters to make a film.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could do all that stuff. It's just, obviously Matrix duties, the survival here, the job you gotta work for, 40, 50, 60 hours of your most productive hours you give into to survive in this place. It's just, too much to kind of find that free time to create these type of stuff for me. But hopefully eventually, if I gain that financial freedom that I talked about in the later chapters of the book via kind of going into this tech field and kind of keep on advancing in it, and hopefully one day I'll have that financial freedom, and then I'll have more time. But yeah, I mean, so far the best I got is this book, but I know that if I put the necessary time that I want to put into it, like taking away 1 year of free time to go into it 724, add like 200 more pages to it, revamp the whole thing, add like 10 to 15 more pages to every chapter, basically remove the ones that's unnecessary, and just I know I can create the best book to convince everyone, basically. But I'm still happy with what I got right now. And yeah, I mean, in the future, maybe us together, we can make a documentary about this, and yeah, or you make a documentary about Gematria. It's all great stuff.
Amazing. Well, we have some comments for you. However, I would suggest that they find you on Reddit. Also, you're on the NetVoid Discord server, so you can tag at TheVeganSkeptic there. Is there any other way that people can contact you?
I think its best way is from Discord, definitely. Yeah, I'm on your Discord server, and yeah, they can just send me a message there. And Reddit as well. I've been over there since I shared my talk with Mark from Forever Conscious Research channel and all that other stuff, and later on shared my book. I got a lot of comments from people, a lot of DMs that they ask me. A lot of people every day they send me DMs on Discord. I try to answer every one of them the best way I can, as fast as I can. And yeah, I mean, they can reach me on Discord or Reddit, basically.
Amazing.
Best way.
I appreciate that. And okay, well, I'll leave it there for now. I have some more questions myself. Like, for example, we're in a metaverse, but they're just releasing the next metaverse, or what do you call it? Like a metaverse inside a metaverse through the
Yeah,
VR
Inception.
headsets.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess quickly before we go, where do you see the next 10, 15, 50 years with VR go?
I see it as becoming the next thing after, especially like 10 years, after 10 years passes. I feel like it's going to be the next big thing, where it's going to be like, just like, Facebook, Google, Twitter, Instagram, all this other stuff. Like, it's going to be that next new thing that's connected with also maybe AR glasses, like the VR AR glasses, that's very easy to plug into. And then probably just like the sci-fi movies, it's going to advance into chip type of stuff or other type of stuff. But right now, I see it as they trying to make the next big thing, which is going to take, definitely going to take a lot of time. But yeah, so we are already there with this technology, and even like Quest 3 coming up in a few months, I think it's going to show people even more. Just like, with Quest 2, we got already millions of people into it that way. When I say we, I mean this horrible system. It's nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the humans, and yeah, they definitely, it looks like it's going to be the next big thing as far as I can see. And it may turn into another actually total trapment of the spirits. But then I feel like it also represents, these metaverse ideas also kind of represents the hiding the truth in plain sight, where it shows us basically kind of like Elon Musk saying that there's like 1 out of billions of chances that this is the base, reality, that we must be in a simulation, he says. And it's basically the biggest system puppet, right? Elon Musk. Kind of like all these like system telling you almost some portion of the truth, but then of course laying all kinds of traps with it so that you fall to them and eventually get tricked. So I see this metaverse things as like, showing the truth, but not going beyond much of it. Just like all these movies, they show you the truth a little bit, but they never give you the solution. And I'm all about solutions. I'm all about actions, and that's kind of why I wrote the book, and what I try to represent out there to people, to take the action, to take care of yourself a little bit. Don't just get lost in it, and that's all it's about.
Thank you, the Vegan Skeptic. I enjoyed this stream so much, and I'm sure the chat did too. So I really,
Likewise, thank you.
yeah. Well, I can't wait till our next stream, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Awesome. I can't wait as well.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Absolutely. So I'll put your Reddit post back on the screen for anyone who's looking to reach out to the Vegan Skeptic. Again, this is their Reddit page, or do join our Discord and you can chat with us more there. All right, have a wonderful evening, everybody, and thanks again, the Vegan Skeptic.
Awesome. Thank you as well. Have a great one.
Cheers.